Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Biz Buzz where we are discovering local businesses. I'm your host Joe Soares and joining me is my co-host as always Mark Leone. Welcome everybody. We have a great show for you today again with a fantastic guest. Dusty Burke from American Commercial Real Estate is our guest today. Dusty, welcome.
Thank you, Joe. Mark, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on the show. Dusty, I know that you work for, again, American Commercial Real Estate, so that your specialty is commercial real estate. Where did you grow up, Dusty?
Sherburne, mainly, and lived there, went to school there, all the way through, almost through high school. I grew up in the late 60s and early 70s, and I was, like a lot of my peers, rebellious. And I was so rebellious that I left school in Sherburne, and I moved to Maine my senior year in high school.
That's a big move.
And I finished high school there. I finished my senior year in Newport, Maine, and graduated up there, and lived in an old Maine farmhouse, and worked in the woods as a lumberjack, and built fences, and did that for a couple of years as I was determining that I didn't really make a very good decision about leaving high school here, going to high school there, and then working in the woods up there. We used to, the lumberjacks up there, the French-Canadian guys would come down, and you'd work with those guys, and they'd come down here, and everything is paid in that industry based on your production and the number of trees you cut down and the number of pieces you can get cut, and you've got to get these trees down and cut fast. And these guys work so hard and so fast that they literally would throw their chainsaws from tree to tree to cut the tree down, drop it. As you can imagine, in that kind of environment, with those trees falling at that kind of pace, doing back-breaking work, the injury level was unbelievable.
Chainsaws flying around.
Unbelievable. And these guys, would go down, would do it for a year or two or three, and then their bodies were gone. Their bodies were gone, and that was it. And I remember I was incredibly strong at the time. I remember loading 4-foot, 18-inch bolts of oak, green oak, onto the back of a truck. And I remember, there was a method you had of lifting it, getting up on your thigh, and getting it, and throwing it on it. And I was unbelievably strong. I had been in absolute top shape. I'd been an athlete, lived in high school, but I was far stronger doing that work. And I remember a guy from the Harvard football team came up who was doing some work for my father. And he came up. He's a linebacker, an all-Ivy lineman. He came up. He's 260, and I had him come out and help me for 2 or 3 hours, and he couldn't lift and throw onto the truck what I was lifting and throwing on the truck. But technique. You pay. It's technique, but you're also in great shape.
Yeah.
And so I was very strong, but my body paid a definite price for that kind of work. So anyway, a couple of years of that. Figured out that I didn't really want to do that.
Was that an instinctive decision? You're a senior in high school, and you decided. Did your parents move there, or you just decided, listen, I got to go to, I want to really go to high school in Maine? How did that decision?
The catch was that my father had an old farmhouse in Maine, and a 1,000-acre farm, and he just bought it, trying to figure out what to do with it. And so I moved up there to live in the farmhouse, worked out a deal with him where I would go up there, finish school up there, look after the farm. And he saw that I had zero academic interest at that time.
Sure.
And he said, go up and see what you can do on your own. So I did, and had a little firewood business, had a little logging, worked as a lumberjack and made fences. But it's brutal work, brutal physical work, and the pay is terrible. And it's nice. You're out in the middle of nature. I remember I had a girlfriend who was a writer for the Bangor Daily News. And one day she came to me and said, come on with me up on the hill. Let's go hunting. And she brought me a gun. I'd never hunted before in my life. She brought me a gun. She wants to go hunting. And so I kind of open to adventure. I said, you bet. We jumped in her truck. We went up on the hill, went into the woods, and there she told me the story that she had just got in confidence from the local police chief about a murder that had taken place. She ran the local Newport beat for the Bangor Daily News about a murder that had taken place at a local gas station. And she picked this venue in which to, kind of like a Stephen King venue, in which to unveil, this wild story about this devil worship cult out of East Newport, Maine, that was evidently the chief suspect in this murder that had taken place in a gas station and robbery. And that she'd gotten a tip from the chief. This is the chief. This is what they're following as their leads. And she had just got the story, and she didn't know what to do with the story. She didn't know if to go public. She wasn't sure whether or not she should submit the story, so she wanted to kick it around with me. So if bullets flew, they only flew between us that day on the hill in Maine. So anyway, I did that for a few years. I worked in Maine in the woods, and then I decided I wanted to save money and go to college. Took a job as a restaurant manager down in Boston, managed a restaurant for 3 years, and then had enough money and went to college. So I was in college a freshman when all my peers had just graduated from high school. What was good for me because I had matured, my frontal lobe had kicked in, and I was ready to understand a little bit more about how to be organized, how to think conceptually, and how to do the kinds of things that are necessary to be successful. So, had a great time at college. Founded the hockey program at college, and set up and ran the hockey program. Got paid to run the hockey program as an undergraduate. Made money running the hockey program. Got academic credit running the hockey program. I was an English major. Studied English. Was literature major and those kinds of things, and enjoyed that a lot at UMass in Amherst.
Do you play hockey?
Play a lot of hockey.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you still play?
Still
do you
play.
really?
Yeah. Still play. Love
Good
it.
for you.
It's one of the best ways I know to embarrass yourself in public. There's a lot of great ways, and that's probably the best.
Yeah.
So I had a great time. Play hockey still, and all of my boys play hockey, and even my daughter.
Great.
So when did you get into the real estate business?
After college, got involved in commercial real estate. Went to work for Fafford, a name well known in Milford.
Okay.
And Madeline and Howard Fafford were building their company in the 80s. I joined them in the late 80s. And I got a great opportunity to understand and see a range of commercial real estate applications. Shopping centers, income properties. Income properties means selling an existing income-producing commercial property. Office space, industrial space, land, residential, the whole host of commercial projects that you could conceive of, Fafford was involved with. So I had the chance to get a broad exposure to commercial real estate. What I decided in those 3 or 4 years of experience with Fafford was that I liked retail the most, and I came out of Fafford. Went to work in Boston for a brokerage house in Boston for a year, and then set up my own company.
What do you like about the real estate portion of the real estate business, Dusty?
Well, my focus, Joe, is retail, and so what retail means is shopping center work. Retail shopping centers, businesses that sell retail to customers, restaurants, and a range of other types of businesses that have retail exposure. And I lease existing retail space, and I sell land for new retail developments, and I put together projects for new retail developments. Could be anything from a state-of-the-art gas station, convenience store, to a grocery store, to a pharmacy, to a bank, to a number of things where I go into a particular market and figure out what's missing in that market, what might be a need or demand in that market, and then try to contact the right owners and developers and tenants or users for that property, and then put them together. That's what I enjoy most. But I do a lot of representing of landlords and projects that I put together in the past where they call me up and say they've got some space to lease. Can I help them with that, and so forth. So I do a lot of that.
So a lot of work with strip malls.
Strip malls, yeah.
Now,
retail,
is it true that, I've heard this before, you want to have, it's important to have what they call an anchor store?
Yes.
That's very important. Is that in fact true? Do you have to have an anchor store in order for a strip mall to be successful?
No, you don't have to, but you want to. And an anchor could be anybody from a Dunkin' Donuts in a small neighborhood strip center of even 5 to 10,000 square feet to a grocery store in a 150, 200,000 square foot neighborhood center, to a power center where you've got anchors like Walmart or Home Depot or Lowe's or any one of a number of other national retailers that will draw a lot of customers in, and other retailers want to be around those anchor tenants.
Yeah.
So, for example, I've just done a project with a banking client of mine up on the North Shore, where I've put the bank with the Dunkin' Donuts together in a 7,000 square foot new retail building to be developed, where I had to find the land and bring the parties together for my client, and brought in Dunkin' Donuts, and we're doing a project there. So that's a small neighborhood center. But I've also done small neighborhood gas station convenience stores, which at the state-of-the-art level are these gas stations with 5 or 6 pump islands, a convenience store, a food court, and a Dunkin' Donuts or a McDonald's on the end cap with a drive-through, and an external car wash.
Huh.
So that's what you would think of as
right?
a state-of-the-art convenience center, where there might be a bank ATM in there and that kind of thing as well.
Now, are there certain? So you're saying that you get the gas station, you got the convenience store, you got the coffee place, you get the car wash. They all kind of complement each other basically, and that's what you're trying to do. Is when you put these tenants in a strip mall to be successful, you want to have them sort of complement each other.
Exactly. The more it's synergy, and synergy everybody's looking for, and the more synergy you've got, the better. But what people want in general, if they're a high-traffic retail business or restaurant, is high-traffic retail.
Yeah.
So the more high-traffic uses you have for a site, the more likely it is to be successful for your business.
Right.
The more rent you can afford to pay, et cetera.
More people are going to want to be there. Yeah.
Today, the state of the art is one of the interesting concepts today is what's kind of thought of as a mixed-use center or new town center type of project, where you encompass in a project not only retail, but also in restaurants, but also potentially recreation, including indoor and outdoor recreation, professional office space, and even municipal office space, town offices, fire station, police station. A residential component, maybe multifamily, single family, low end, middle, high end, all in one project. We recently did the leasing for Vince O'Neill and his project at Chestnut Green in Foxborough, which was the old Foxborough State Hospital site. Vince bought the site at auction, and it's really become a national example of how to do it right, how to take these old state hospital sites that have been mothballed and redevelop it into a fabulous mixed-use project, which has really become the town center in many respects, commercially, for the town of Foxborough. So that you've got all of these different components I'm talking about. Outdoor fields that have been dedicated to the town, donated to the town for soccer and other things. Municipal offices for police and fire. Office space for professional uses on site in some of the old buildings that were previously used as the state hospital, renovated buildings, make fabulous office space. Very artsy, very attractive office space. And some of that is converted to multifamily space, some of it in apartments, some of it, and then there's a great deal of new construction for residential single-family homes. And then the centerpiece of the project was a retail project in which we did 55,000 square feet of retail, anchored by a Walgreens, next to a Super Stop and Shop, which was not exactly part of our project, but was next to it. And we pre-leased on the telephone, cold calling different businesses that we invited to come to the project because we wanted their use and their business in the project. We called them up on the telephone and invited them to explore it. And we did that by virtue of coming up with a list of the types of uses that we thought would be appropriate for that kind of town center environment. So as a result, we got a range of businesses, a range of convenience-oriented businesses, a range of restaurants, including a wonderful Oriental restaurant and a local sub pizza guy who's doing fantastic, and then Waxy O'Connor's restaurant and pub, and where he also does an entertainment component on the weekends. And we've got a major daycare facility as part of that operation, a Walgreens, and then a whole range of small retailers. We pre-leased that,
Right.
meaning
Like you said.
that was 100% leased prior to
Even building
construction.
It. Yeah.
So it was virtually 100% leased before it was built, let alone ready for delivery to the
Right.
tenants.
So what happened? This person that bought this project had a vision, and he kind of came to you and said, "Does it make sense? Do you think I can pull all these pieces together?" Or you kind of go by there and
He was
say,
the visionary. He was the
Okay.
visionary. Vince O'Neill,
Yeah.
a terrific real estate visionary, and a great closer, a fantastic closer. I had never worked with anybody that could close deals better than Vince O'Neill.
Yeah.
But Vince saw the opportunity there to merge all of these uses into a town center concept.
Right.
And he brought us in to talk to us about the retail piece of it, only the retail piece, Mark. So we went in and we talked with Vince about the retail, how we would approach it, what our vision would be for the retail. He liked our thinking, and hired us to do the leasing of it. But it's very difficult when you're looking at how does a real estate broker get paid. Real estate broker gets paid usually on commissions. That's how we get paid, based on commissions. And you don't get paid those commissions until, most of the time, the tenant is in paying rent.
Right.
So you're talking about, in this case, over 2 years of lead time when we're pre-leasing the space before we're going to see any commission checks, which is a real barrier to entry for a lot of people and a lot of
It's a long
individuals
time,
as well as
sure,
companies
sure.
to get. Well, you're investing a lot of time in the project way in advance of when you're going to get paid, and you're still investing it sometimes before you even know you've got an approved, financed project. So we're already pre-leasing the project before he even has his final permits.
Sure.
So a real estate broker, and you could talk to any real estate broker, and they'll tell you, they invest a tremendous amount of time. Could be a residential broker, retail, office, industrial, anybody. They're investing a tremendous amount of time, and an awful lot of the work they do will never, ever get paid for.
Mm-hmm.
But they get commissions, and so the commissions are good pay
Right.
for their work, but it may be the result of an enormous amount of work that took place
Right.
before you got paid.
You had a question, Mark?
So, sounds like you said you did something on the North Shore, something in Foxborough. I believe you're located in Bellingham. So how do you find all these people? They kind of find you based on your experience of doing these kind of projects.
Yeah, I'll get calls from guys, gals that I've done business with in the past, or from somebody they referred to me, and where I work is based on mainly the eastern New England area, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and New Hampshire. And so long as that they're in that area, I use my experience, which is 25 years in the business, to go into a particular market and do what we need to do in order to figure out the highest and best uses for the particular project in mind. And then we go figure out how are we going to get it. So we establish our strategies on what the uses are that we want for a particular project, and then how we're going to get them. The best strategy that I've used and that my brother uses, who works for me, is to figure out the uses that we want, and then to invite them to come over, introduce them to it, and invite them to explore it. But there's plenty of other marketing strategies that are used, listing services, and a range of other ways that you contact and reach out to clients. Some of these clients are going to be national clients, Mark, that are national retailers. And for a local neighborhood shopping center, generally they're not appropriate. You might get a national company like a Subway that has local franchisees,
Right.
and you work with the corporate and the local franchisee to put the local deal together. But in many cases, you're working with larger neighborhood supermarket-anchored grocers, those kinds of centers, in order to be able to attract national retailers or national restaurant chains and so forth. Yeah. So you're trying to figure out the right balance of local businesses and regional businesses and national businesses based on realistically what the market is going to justify.
It's interesting to me that I know that strip mall in Foxborough you're talking about, and you have Patriot Place not too far away, right up the street, and it's interesting that can be so successful in that area because you figure most people that live in that area, I don't know, a lot of them would go to Patriot Place there's a ton there. There's everything you would need.
And we were doing our project simultaneous, too.
At the same time, sure.
The guys at SRA were doing the Patriot Place for Bob Kraft. And so we competed with them. But we competed with them for the most part, different clients. Our neighborhood, our center is a neighborhood shopping center. Sure. Theirs is a regional power center.
Sure.
And so
the two
they're
can work
really
together,
where the competition mostly is, Joe, is where do you think most of the competition would be between the two centers? Restaurants. Restaurants.
Okay. Yeah,
the restaurants will be competitive with one another.
Sure.
So Waxy O'Connor's, they're drawing from some of the same customer base as CBS, for example, CBS store over at Patriot Place.
Right.
So. They've got a great entertainment venue at Waxy's where they have live music coming in on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights, and so they've been very successful.
Yeah. How important is having that kind of retail development on a set of traffic lights?
Depends on the project. Great question. Great question. A lot of people will call me up, or they'll call they'll call a broker they know, and they'll say, geez, the CVS, I see CVS just bought a property down the road, and they paid $1.5 million for an acre and a half of land or 2 acres of land. I'd like to sell my property. Can you sell that? Can you sell my property to somebody that'll pay me $1.5 million? It's just down the road from where I am.
Yeah.
And my answer is, I'll come meet you, and I'll look at your site, and I'll tell you what I think. But I'll invariably arrive there, and they are 50 feet from greatness, 100 feet from greatness. And the difference between greatness and mediocrity in terms of retail site is dramatic. Dramatic. So where CVS would go in that perfect corner, where you've got a great intersection, great traffic, and commuter traffic and local traffic and other retail generators and hospital nearby and a grocery and other things. And they're right at the traffic light, so they have access off 2 roads, and they could lay out their prototype, 12,900 square foot CVS prototype with a drive-through. Got to be prototype, got to have their parking, got to be perfect on that corner with access off both roads. If it's perfect, they'll pay that $1.5 million or whatever it's going to take. Not to say what CVS will pay. That's not my business to say. I do work on CVS deals. But that's an example of what might happen in the marketplace. And the guy next door, who's not on the corner, wants $1.5 million for his 2 acres. And it isn't going to happen. Except in unusually dense retail corridors where you can get close to that kind of a number, but you're not going to get there. But, in a typical site, you might have a value of 1/5 or a quarter or 1/10 the value of what the CVS is worth or what that corner is worth to a gas station. And if you don't sell it to a gas station, a state-of-the-art gas station, and you don't sell it to a pharmacy, or you can't put enough land together where you could do a neighborhood grocery store anchored shopping center at the corner, if you can't do that, then your land is only worth what the market will bear for a typical small business use in that area.
Yeah.
Automobile dealers will pay a lot of money for sites if it's perfect. If it's a high traffic area where there's all kinds of other automobile dealers and land values are way up because you're on the golden mile of Route 1 in Norwood. You're on the golden auto mile, and there, if you're a new car dealer, you want that location for your. So there are specific examples where people will pay a lot of money. But your question's a great one. You want that traffic controlled intersection for your business, but unless you're a CVS or a gas station owner, operator, developer, you can't afford to pay what a lot of people want for that corner.
Yeah.
So the corner guy sitting there, and unless he can get those uses, he can't get what he wants. And you have to educate both the buyer that's going to come in and wants to be at that corner and the owner that has the corner but doesn't have the user that's going to pay the big money.
Now, Dusty, you've been in the business for 20 years, you said. What are some things that you see changing now in the industry? And then we see changing.
I think I've been in the business, I've been in the business, 23, 20 years, right? 25 years.
25 years.
Yeah. What's changing? Electronic communication has dramatically changed the ability to get the word out on your property to brokers and to communicate with your retail clients, to any of your real estate clients, through email and through electronic and social media. It's dramatically changing the world, the way that real estate does business.
So does that change your business too?
A little bit, because you can market faster and more easily to a wider range of people. But still, an awful lot of what I do is based on relationships and being able to get through to the people that I need to reach. And I treat every businessman and everybody working for a businessman as somebody who I respect and am very appreciative of the value of their time. And so when I get them on the phone, I've got to get to the information I need to get at as quickly and as efficiently as possible, find out if they're interested, and then get them the information they need as quickly and efficiently as possible without wasting their time. And so I only can call them with properties, opportunities, situations which are credible, which in my view, based on my experience, are credible, because I don't want to be seen as somebody that's wasting their time, or that somebody gets on the phone with them and spends a lot of social time, social chit-chat. They're in the middle of a very busy business day, and if they're going to take my call out of respect for their relationship to me, or out of respect because they know that I've had some results, then I want to make sure that those communications are still effective. Right. So I'll get on the phone with them. I'll be very efficient and quick. That they'll take my call, and it's those calls, it's those conversations, it's those emails and communications that are critical to get through to the right party, the president of a company, or the right real estate decision maker for a national company, that you got to get a hold of to get an initial signal. Is this something that they're interested in?
And it can't be done through a text message. It's just too.
It can be if you know them well enough, but
usually it's too many questions and answers.
You're going to reach out to people with email. You're going to reach out to people with phone calls, and you're going to do it both ways.
Well, Dusty, we're actually going to close it up. We're out of time, so if you could provide your contact information so someone can get a hold of you if they're interested in using your services.
Sure. Dusty Burke, American Commercial Real Estate, Bellingham, Mass. My telephone number, my cell phone, 508-735-6378. My office number is 508-966-2699. My email address is dusty@acreco.com, ACRECO.com. ACRE, ACRE is an acronym of American Commercial Real Estate.
Fantastic. From lumberjack to commercial real estate extraordinaire, everyone. Dusty Burke. Dusty, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate your time.
Mark, Joe, thanks
entertaining.
Thanks for having me. Guys, appreciate it.
Great.
And that's going to conclude the show today for Biz Buzz. Mark, thanks again, and check us out on Facebook. Again, just type in Biz Buzz. That's BIZBUZZ, and you'll find the latest and greatest guests we've had on Biz Buzz. Everyone, thanks a lot. Have a great night.